Hey guys, Carl from Purple Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a preview look at a prototype copy of The Sixth Realm, the newest game in the Five Realms universe from publisher Final Frontier Games, and this time from designers Seth Jaffee, Matthew Dunstan, and Drake Villareal. If you're familiar with any of the other games, you know that they all take place in this sort of magical fantasy world known as the Five Realms. Well, it turns out that all of the inhabitants of the Five Realms actually came from some previous ancestral homeland that had been taken over by some kind of unknown, mysterious, poisonous fog. Well, now that poisonous fog is clearing up, and you're going to be tasked with traveling back to this original sort of homeland of the world of the Five Realms, exploring this and sort of gaining the aid of the different guilds in the Five Realms to help you on your exploration, hoping to gain the Queen's favor and ultimately gain the most points, as you do in most games. Disclaimer, I was, as a preview copy, given advanced copy of the prototype of this game for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on what I've seen so far. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. Alright, before we get started, there's a couple of things I want to say. First off, this is a prototype copy of the game, so everything you see on screen will be prototype components. And even more than that, I've been a bit cursed with this game as US Customs decided to hold on to some of the pieces as it came here, and then they were sent again and somehow they never got delivered to me. So a few of the components are also proxied components that I'm using for this video. The other thing I want to point out real quickly here before I set up is that this game has a very large footprint, and even the board itself is not going to fit completely onto the screen. Also, it is a vertical board, a very, very tall vertical board, and I want to use the screen as much as possible, so I am placing it horizontally, so the board will be sideways. And again, some things are going to be slightly cut off on screen just because of my camera setup and the size of the board. With all that said, let's go ahead and get into setup of the game. To set up a solo game of the Sixth Realm, begin by placing out the game board with the 1 to 2 player side face up. And again, you'll see, as I mentioned, some things are cut off. This track down here goes off the screen a little bit. I'll explain what's there as I do things so that you can understand what I'm doing. Also, some of the descriptions and placement up here, as well as the score track at the edge here, is cut off. Some of this description and some of this description is cut off. But again, I will explain things as best as I can when things are off screen. But otherwise, everything else should be on the screen as needed. And again, in a second when I get into how to play the game, I will try my best to zoom in on these different areas to show them to you better on the screen, at least so you can see them once in the normal rotation. And then after that, I will be playing with the game out like this. So let me go ahead and finish setting up the game board itself. So first, I'm going to place the 6 different guild tiles down here randomly around the center of this circle. So taking those 6 different tiles, giving them a quick shuffle, and then placing them out randomly around the circle. Like that. And then in the center of this area here, I'm going to place the Wheel of Favor tile with the central arrow seen here, like this, pointing at the 12 o'clock position were the board facing vertically. So this is going to be the top of our wheel, facing like that. Next, in some space, just so that I have room for it on camera, right here, I'm going to be placing 1 seal in each of the 6 different colors down here. Then filling in this area, I'm going to start by placing out the large feet tile in the center like this, with the 2 small feet tiles on the edges pointing in towards the center, like that. Next, moving up on the board to this section, we need to place out all of the foundation tiles. Out the foundation tiles, which have 3 shapes and sizes like this. And for the solo mode, we will be removing 4 of these, 5 of these, and 6 of these from the game. So total in the game, there will be 4 of these, 5 of these, and 6 of these left as well. So basically half of each of those have been removed from the game. You can't really see it, but right here off the edge of the screen, you can kind of see I'm going to place 1 of each of those out at that spot, because we will, when you see when we get into gameplay, only be able to build 1 of each of those on any given turn. And the rest of them just off screen at the top here, I'm going to place out the remaining supply of those pieces. Next, coming over to this side of the board, I'm going to be placing out 2 of each of the different resource types or tokens. You see this is purple and brown, green and gray, red and blue. And I will be placing out 2 of each of those out onto the board. And then finally, to set up this area, I'm going to be placing the cart, the merchant cart that looks like this, out onto the center of that area. Then over here on the boat, I need to place this circular token, the popularity limit token, here around the 3 on this tracker. And then on this boat, we're going to be placing out envoy meeples. And in the solo game, there are 8 of each color of envoy. And the colors are the same as the 6 colors you see in the guilds. And I'm going to take 6 of those at random and place them out on the boat. So from this bag, and this bag is not the game's bag, this is a proxied bag, I'm going to draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 meeples onto that boat. And these are visiting envoys, and I'll set that bag off to the side. Next, moving up the board here over in this area, I need to place out the ink supply. And again, I'm trying to place things out wherever there is room for things that you can see on screen. So I'm going to fill in this area right here with my ink. And then I'm going to place out 4 tiles, artifact tiles, at random in those locations. Now, in the actual version of the game, there should be a bag to randomize these. I don't have a bag, so I am going to just be choosing them at random from the pile of tiles that I have out on my table off screen, filling in like this on the board. Next, moving over to here, we're going to be placing out the tradition tiles in a few stacks as chosen. There are sort of 3 rivers shown here, so I'm going to set them out in 3 stacks. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the stacks on camera, but then from those stacks, I will place 1 face-up tile in each of the 9 locations in that area. And then finally, in these 4 center spaces, I will be placing out the translator meeples. I don't have the translator meeples, as those are some of the components that didn't make it to me. So I've borrowed a few components from Guild Academies of Valeria. You might recognize these, but that game also uses artwork from the Micho, and they look semi-similar to what's supposed to be there. So I figured that was a good proxy in this case. Then finally, moving up to this last section of the board, or in case of the screen, moving left to that section, I'm going to be placing out 2 relic tokens. And you'll see the relic tokens look like this. One side showing this symbol on the back of all of them, and the other side showing some kind of other symbol on the front side. Each of the locations on the map will get 2 of them. The bottom one placed face down, the top one placed face up in a stack like this. And those will get placed out into each of these sort of circular areas on the map. And I'm going to do that at random right now. And with that, the main board is all set up aside from the player components. But before I do that, I want to come over to the other camera and set up our player area. So to set up our player area, the first thing I need is a player board. And for this game, I will be playing as the sort of purple/pink group. And I say that because some of the components are slightly different color, but more importantly, I'm going to be proxying some of these components. And the first one of those you'll see is this little wooden piece here that is going to be proxied as the action point tracker up here in this top track. Next, down here under each of these 6 colored tracks, I'm going to place 1 book. And then above each of those in the colored tracks, I'm going to be placing out one of these rank pieces and one of these sort of reputation trackers as a sort of set like this at the bottom of each of those tracks. And then over here on the right side, in these 4, I'm going to be placing 4 counselor meeples that look like this, 4 houses that look like this, 4 towers that look like that. And then finally in here, I'm going to place out 8 bridges, and the bridges all look like this. I also need to play out in my player area this relic cabinet, like that. these 6 guild bonus tiles, my 3 challenge tokens valued 4, 3, and 2. And then finally, I'm going to take these large feat tiles. In the 1 to 2 player game, in this case, we're going to be using the large ones rather than the small triangle ones, giving those a shuffle, taking 5 of them for us, but also the AI is going to use 4 of them. So I'm going to use this opportunity right now to separate those 1, 2, 3, and 4 for each of us. And then my 5th one. There will be 1 remaining that goes back into the box. I'm going to set the AIs off to the side because they will be used in just a minute face down. But for me, all of these can be placed face up for us to see sort of what we have available to us for scoring possibilities later in the game. And again, I will explain how all of that works when we get into a discussion of how the game plays. Actually, let me just move that here to give it a little more space on screen. Then to set up the AI, we're going to place out the AI's sort of action tracker here. I might slide that up just a little bit because taking those 4 tiles that we had before, I want to place those into a diamond shape like that, face down. That works like that. And then I need to set this wheel so that the top color here is the same as the top on the main board, which I will show you in just a second, but I am going to do that right now. That is the brown area, so that will be set to the top. Another proxied component, but the AI also needs a marker in this sort of crosshair area over here, starting at the top. They will also begin with their 8 bridges, 5 counselors, and 4 towers. The AI does not need houses, however. And in addition to those components, the AI will also have their 4, 3, and 2 challenge tokens available to them. Finally, while we're here, a couple of things. Number 1, I will be the starting player at the start of the game. So I'm going to be using this little guy as my starting player marker because unfortunately the first player marker also didn't make it. So let's go ahead and stick him right there, and we'll move back and forth to show who is first player as we play. And the other thing is I need to, at random, choose one of these startup tiles to set up how my sort of starting resources, starting settings will be. So shuffling those at random, I've drawn this one here, which says I'm going to start with the blue seal. I'm going to start with 1 ink. This one only matters in multiplayer. It determines where your starting counselor goes on that guild track. I'll show you in just a minute. This one tells me that the gray book will start flipped over, and then I get 1 of each resource token type. So actually, let me slide this up just a little bit. And by doing that, I can have this guy down here. Those can slot in a little bit smaller, like that. And I will then take from the board that I set up earlier 1 of each of the 3 different resource sets or resource tokens. And then also, as I showed in my startup tile, I will take the blue seal from the main board as well. So that means there's only 1 now of each of these left on the board, and there is no blue seal remaining to be sort of claimed during the game. Then coming back to the main board, we have some player pieces we need to place out. First, the AI's counselor will start at space 2, 1, 2 on the track. And my single counselor will start at space 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here like that. We each need to place out 1 tracker on this track down here that's partially off the screen, and again I'll explain as those advance and what's happening that you can't see. Next, we both need to have a tracker here on the 0 space of the point tracker. We both have a piece here on the Queen's Ambition tracker. In this case, I'm going to be at the bottom of the stack because I'm the first player, and the order of tokens is going to matter on this track. We will both place a token out here on the popularity track. And then finally, myself only will place 1 up here on the navigation track. And then again, we should have a flame or torch token that goes into the dungeon track here in the Adventurers Guild, but that's another component I'm missing, so I'm gonna take one of these little meeple guys from Charterstone and stick that right here in the entrance to the dungeon. And with that, we are all set up for gameplay. So a game of the Sixth Realm is going to play out over a series of 3 years, and each of the 3 years is going to be made up of 7 rounds. And those 7 rounds will be shown here on the guild track starting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 7th round you'll see in just a minute will be sort of our choice, or an action guild of our choice. But each round this wheel is going to turn, pointing to a different set of guilds that we can make use of for that round. And again, at the end of 7 rounds, we will reset for the 2nd year, then the 3rd year, and at the end of the 3rd year, obviously we will go into final scoring to see who has the most points at the end of the game. And on each turn, we're going to go through a variety of different things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the guild track. And the guild track is going to be pointing to one of the 6 guilds, in this case, the Scribes Guild. And you'll see in just a minute that when it comes time for me to take an action, I can actually make use of the one that's being pointed to, or if you can see printed here on this token, by spending the appropriate resource matching the guild to the left or right of this token, I can instead choose to take that action. But before I take any actions, I have the ability to use a guild bonus and also make use of any free actions if I choose to do so. So coming back to my player board, you can see at the top of these 6 guild tracks, there is a slot where we can slot in these little bonus tokens. And that means if I have a token at the top of the track matching the guild that the arrow is pointing at, I will then activate that bonus. But at the start of the game, obviously, I don't have any of those, so in the first round, that's not going to happen. After that, I'm able to use free actions, and I just realized in saying so, I forgot to take the 1 ink that I said I should have started with. So placing 1 ink there. The 2 free actions that are available to us at all times are using ink and placing envoys. Envoys you'll see later how we get, but the envoys we're going to be collecting up here at the top of our board. They can be moved into this section here, or any of these 3 sections, as well as any of these locations, once we have locations that can hold an envoy. So you'll see as soon as one of those is removed, there's now a space that an envoy can be placed to take this free action. So first you'll see up here, anytime I fill in 2 of those with the same color envoy, I'm going to be able to refresh the resource that matches the color of those envoys. And if I fill them in with different colored envoys, I'm going to be able to advance 1 space on the Queen's Ambition track. But I'll explain all of that as it comes out in gameplay. Down here in this area, simply if I place 2 of the same color envoy, I can increase my level of that track for the next turn. Again, I'll explain all of this when we get there. Same thing here as there, except it only requires 1 envoy, and it will advance whichever track, in both cases, match the color of the envoy I placed. Also in this section at the end of the game, we're going to be scoring 1 point for each different color that I've got in this area. The next one, placing an envoy in these locations once they're empty, will allow me to flip the book matching the color of that envoy. This one here will allow me to take the seal, if there's one left, from the game board, matching the color of the envoy placed there. And then down here later on, you'll see that as I start placing out tradition tiles, some of those tradition tiles will have other sort of placement locations that I can place the envoys at in order to take advantage of those actions. The other free action I can take in addition to placing an envoy is using ink. And anything that looks like a scroll like this, either here on the board or later printed on some of my tradition tiles, will be ink actions, and I can simply take any available ink I have and place it on that action. Right now, this one is going to allow me to refresh any used resource tile. And this one you'll see will get me 1 point advancement on my popularity track based on the number of different seals that I have available to me, either on my tradition tiles or as seal tiles like this. So right now I have 1. So if I placed an ink there, I'd get 1 popularity. And I'll explain what popularity is later as we get into the actual core gameplay. So again, at the beginning of my turn, if I have a bonus action that matches the guild that the arrow is pointing to, I'll take that bonus, and then I can choose to use my envoys if I have any here, and use my ink if I have any here. After that, we move into our bulk of our main turn, coming back to the main board. I then, as I mentioned, can choose to either simply do the action that's being pointed to, or select either action to the left or right of that, spending the resource that matches that color. And spending a resource simply means taking that resource and flipping it to the spent side on the other side of that resource. And that will allow me to use the matching colored guild on sort of this side of that tile. And again, every round that's going to rotate, which is going to change our options. Once we've selected the guild to activate, coming back to the player board again, we can see that I've got a variety of different tracks for the different guilds that are out there. And this here is going to show me how many action points I can get. So my reputation for each of these right now is 1 reputation. Except that, as I mentioned with my starting tile, and again I forgot to set it, on this starting tile it shows that my gray resources should start with a book flipped. So I'm going to flip the book of the gray guild. And what that means is now I've got a +1 reputation or +1 action point at that location. So right now I've got a 1, but it's actually going to be 2 for the gray guild. In addition to our reputation and whatever action point value we start at, I can choose to activate or use resources of that color, as many as I want to, but I can only ever have 2 of any given color. Flipping that and then increasing the reputation of that to its next level. So in this case here, I could flip this to push gray or green up 1 level, which would mean if I was taking a gray guild action, I would then have 3 + 1 or 4 action points available to me, sliding this to 4 to keep track of how I'm spending my actions. But it's worth noting that after this slides to 4, this will then drop back down for the next turn, and will stay there until I do something to it. But you'll see later on in different actions, I'm going to be able to move this sort of rank token up higher, in which case this will always start at this position or this position if I've leveled up twice. So as we play through the game, we are going to be leveling up our abilities, in which case we can take stronger and stronger actions at each of the different guilds. So let's come back to the main board and see all of the different guilds and what is possible at each of them. Starting with the Brown Scribes Guild is just this little banner right here. And when I'm taking a Brown Guild action, I can spend 1 action point to either gain 1 ink cube or remove 1 ink cube from a location that I've already activated on my player board. And I can spend as many of those at 1 per piece to take and or remove as many ink as I want to, as long as I have the action points to spend to pay for it. Otherwise, I can spend 3 action points to remove all of the ink from all of the different places on my board. So if I had more than 3 ink, I could use 3 and still remove everything from my board, freeing up those spaces for later when I might want to use ink again at those locations. Following around the ring, the next space is red. We're going to jump up here for red. This is the Adventurers Guild. And in the Adventurers Guild, I will simply be spending points, 1 per action, to move this guy through the dungeon, activating whatever is in each of the rooms. So gaining ink, removing ink. These are going to be selecting from these tiles, which will be endgame scoring. I'll explain those in just a second. And actually, let me rotate those since the camera is sideways. It's probably easier for you to see if I do that. And I'll explain those in just a second, but first let me explain some more things. If you ever see a crown like this, that simply means advancing my tracker here on the Queen's Guild track, or Queen's Ambition track. This sort of compass rose symbol is advancing here on the navigation track. These here, when I reach, I'm allowed to then, if I have ink in my hand, you'll see these are the same scrolls I showed you before, allow me to place an ink down to increase the reputation temporarily on 1 track on my board, or to flip over a resource. This lets me put one of those bonus tokens on my guild tracks. This one lets me take one of the leftover seals at the bottom. Anytime you see a question mark in this sort of person star, this is the popularity symbol, that means the round number, the year number, that number of spaces up on this population track. The last thing I skipped is this little face here. This little face is actually the face that should be on these meeples here. That is the translator over here. And that's simply going to mean that I can move any of these translators as far as I want to in the direction of the column or row that they are in, activating whatever space they land on. So let me show you some of these up close. There are two different types that you can see on screen right now. The tokens that look like this are going to score me this many points if I have a majority of whatever it shows here at the end of the game. So comparing between myself and the AI, if I have more than the AI, I will score 2 points. This one here is actually going to give me 2 options. If I have a majority of one of these things, I will score 1 point. And if I have the majority of both of these, I will score 3 points. And again, when I say majority, a tie will also count. So that is the Adventurers Guild. Continuing around the circle, the next one, the Green Guild, is the Merchants Guild, which is right here. And the Merchants Guild is going to basically be dealing with resources and reputation. So on my turn here, I need to move this cart to one of the 6 locations around the edge. If the cart is in the middle, I can move it anywhere I want to. But if the cart is already on one of those locations, I will only be able to move it left or right, means clockwise or counterclockwise around that circle. And at the location, I can choose to do one of 3 things. For 1 action point, I can simply refresh the resource matching the color where I went. For 2 reputation, I can flip over the book of the guild track matching that color on my player board. And for 3 reputation, I can take an additional resource of that color to make use of for the rest of the game. Remembering I can only ever have 2 maximum of any given resource type, which is why there are only 3 of those, or 1 of each here, because the AI will never take these tiles. And let me explain to you the book again just a second. You saw before that the first time one of these books gets flipped, you get a +1 to your reputation every time you take the guild action matching that guild. But after it flips back again, you can see down here a shape that looks like those rank tokens I showed you on my player board before. When that flips back again, that rank on my player board will move up 1. And actually, let me come back to the player board to show you that. If this gray one were flipped over like that, this whole rank would then move up to the next level. So this is going to be the way that we get to level up our respective guilds. So flipping that back and resetting. The next guild around the circle is this gray one, the Builders Guild. In the Builders Guild, we're going to be sort of playing a polyomino tile laying game based on this grid right here. And you'll see there are certain spaces that are single spaces, some that are double spaces on there as well. And on my turn, I can spend 2 action points to place a 1x1 tile, 3 action points to place this 2x1 tile, 4 action points to place this sort of L-shaped 2-and-1 tile, or 1 or 2 action points to place out one of my houses on a tile that I just placed. So for example, if I spent 4 points, I could place out this tile here and then place my house on either of the 2 locations that I just covered with that tile. And the reason I can spend 1 or 2 action points is because if I spend 1 action point, I can choose to either activate this or this. But if I spend 2 action points, I can actually activate both the column and the row of wherever I place the house. But in addition, when I place the tile down, I get whatever it shows on the board. So here, in addition to some of the things we've seen before, these are the bonus guild tiles being placed in specific guilds, the books being flipped in specific guilds. And this one here is moving my tracker. You can't see really where it's going to go right now, but my tracker here on the influence track moving around, which gets me moving up Queen's Ambition, additional counselors in the Stone Council, and additional popularity down here at the boat. In addition, at the end of the game in this area, I will be scoring points equal to 1 times any completed column or row, or vice versa really, column or row, that has one of my houses in it and is completely filled with the building foundation tiles. Next is purple. Purple is the Historians Guild. And there are sort of two main things I can do over here in purple. Number one is I can pay 1 action point per time that I want to move one of these translators to a different location in their row or column, and I can go anywhere I want to. So if I was here, I could move all the way back over there. It's not just one space, it's just moving anywhere within the column that they're not currently at. And the 3 things you're going to see here are gaining and removing ink, moving up on the navigation track, and again, gaining popularity down there. The other thing I can do here is spend a number of points equal to the numbers printed on my player board. So coming over to my player board at the bottom here, I see 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4. And I'm going to be able to buy a tradition tile from the board to fill in one of these locations, taking whatever it shows on my player board where I've covered. But then also let's come back to the main board and take a look at some of these guys here. Just want to show you 2 of them up close to show you what different types there are. For each of them, you're going to see a colored seal in the corner. This is going to count for colored seals in all of the sort of end game scoring that requires me to have a certain number of those seals. But also these will either give me ink locations where I can place ink and activate, or locations where I can place an envoy meeple to activate. So in this case, if I place an envoy meeple on this after I've built it on my player board, I'll be able to place a bonus tile on the location matching the color of that envoy. In this case, if I put an ink on here, I'm going to get 1 population plus 1 additional population for every blue seal that I have in my collection at the time. And if these went back in the wrong place, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention when I took them off, but it's not going to change the way the game is going to play. Otherwise, the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. This one's the same as the blue except for brown. This lets me flip the blue or red resource for ink, green or gray resource for ink. This one for ink lets me push up reputation on brown. This one for an envoy gets me 2 action points matching the color of that envoy for sort of an additional action on my turn. This one lets me flip the book matching the color of the envoy meeple that I place on there. So that location is going to be giving me a bunch of different ways that I can sort of enhance my abilities throughout the game. And then finally, the 6th location on the board is the Navigators Guild, which is this big map here at the top or the left side of the board. And on this area, I'm going to be placing out bridges and towers. And a bridge can be placed for 1, 2, or 3 action points, depending on which numbered bridge it is that I'm playing out on a specific turn. And what I mean by that is, my first bridge that I place on a single turn will be 1 action point. The second bridge I want to place on a single turn will be 2 action points, and the third bridge that I'd like to place on the same action or same turn will cost 3 action points. And those bridges are going to be able to be played in any of these locations out here on the board, activating whatever it shows at that location. And when I say anywhere, you can't place them floating in the middle. The bridge has to be either adjacent to something that's there already, means one of the locations on the map, or next to a bridge that's already been built on the map. And then towers are going to be built at locations, but in order to build a tower at a location, the path on either side of that tower, or on one of the 3 sides of that tower, given a spot that has multiple paths, must be completed, and at least one of the bridges in that path, completed path, is your bridge. And if that is true, you can then choose that location to build one of your towers. And what you're going to do when you build one of your towers, and I'm not going to show the bottom one here because it will spoil what's hiding there, but what this means is I will then take this relic token and place it into my relic cabinet. And here is the relic cabinet. So basically I would take that and place it into one of these 4 locations, triggering exactly what it shows there as I place it there. But then at the end of the game, I'm going to be scoring points based on that thing. So in this case, I'd be scoring points based on the number of red envoy meeples I've collected. And the number of points I'm going to be scoring is based on the navigation track right here. So at the beginning of the game, I'll score 1 point for every 3 of whatever condition it is that I'm tracking. If I can get into this section, I'd be scoring 1 point for every 2 of those things that I'm tracking. And if I can make it up to this top space right here, I'd be scoring 1 point for every single one of those things that I'm tracking. And those could be colored envoys, those could be colored seals, or they could be specific features like houses or towers, or the bonus tokens on the guild tracks, and so on. And hopefully you'll see that as we get into play. So that's basically all of the guilds out here. The only other things I need to talk about, again, are this popularity track. But first, I want to take a look at this track down here, the influence track. Because on any given turn, if I find myself with action points that I don't want to spend on the guild action that I've selected, I can always use the action points here to move my token 1 space per action point along this track. And again, some of these are cut off, but here I'd get a Queen's Ambition. Here I'd place my second counselor in the Stone Council. Here I would get 1 popularity. Here 1 Queen's Ambition. Here 1 counselor. And then the rest you can kind of see, but they're all mixes of Queen's Ambition track, counselor seats, and single popularity. The popularity is going to be driving up this track. Anytime your piece makes it to this yellow circle, it will reset back to 0. And if you still have more to spend, it will continue back again from 0. And every time you hit that circle, you're going to be taking one of these envoys and adding it to your player board, as I explained earlier. Except that every time this boat empties down to just 1 remaining envoy, this will slide up to the next level, meaning you need to have more popularity to bring in envoys, and then the boat will refill back up to a total of 6 envoys. The last thing I do want to show you on the board is the Queen's Ambition area. Anytime one of us places our token or gets our token to this middle area, we're going to place out one of our feat tiles onto this board. And I'll show you all of the feat tiles in just a second that I have, but let me just show you one to explain how this works. I will then take one of my feat tiles and place it into one of the areas that's adjacent to something else. Choosing then one of the circles I've completed, in this case here or here, to place one of my trackers, in this case 4. So if I placed that right there, I would first instantly get 4 points. But then at the end of the game, if I'm able to get at least 2 of the gray seals and at least 4 of my bonus track or bonus ability tiles, I will score 4 points for that set at the end of the game. Same thing here, the one that's printed, I don't score right away, but at the end of the game, if I had 3 green meeples and 2 gray seals, I would score 3 points for that. And this is going to be extra important in the solo mode because anything I don't score, the AI will automatically get the points for. So I need to, as soon as I place something out, or as soon as the AI places something out, focus on scoring that thing whenever possible. So coming back to my player board, we've got, again, that 3 green and 2 gray seals here, 3 purple envoy and 2 orange or 2 brown seals, 3 gray envoy, 2 green seals, 5 tradition tiles, 5 ink. This is 6 different resource tiles, means I need to have 2 of each of the different resources. And this is 3 houses out in the Builders Guild area. And that basically explains the game. Now that I know that's a whole lot of stuff that I just explained, I know that took a whole long time to do. The only other thing to explain is the AI, but I will explain the AI when they take their first turn because I am going first and then the AI will follow after me. And right now I can see that I'm kind of looking at purple envoy, green envoy, gray seals, green seals, and brown seals. I know I've got a little bit of a heads up on the Builders Guild. I should sort of pick something else, maybe red, blue, or purple to focus on as well. Lots of seals here, and seals often come from the purple. So I might try and do a gray-purple kind of game. But let's see how things go. Right now, looking at the main board, I have an option of brown. If I want to pay for it red or blue, there's no reason to pay for something weird at the beginning of the game. Brown is coming up. I know I've got purple coming up soon, and my brown is also purple, but why not? I'm going to flip that brown, pushing this to a 3, which means I get 3 action points. And since I have nothing filled in yet from my ink, hold on a minute. Before I do that, No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to spend all 3 of those to simply take 3 ink onto my player board. So I've got a lot of stuff left over moving forward, and I will immediately spend 1 ink because I didn't mention this before. You can also take free actions at the end of your turn. So I'm going to do that to flip that purple and brown back again so I have it for later when I'm taking my purple action. That's the end of my turn. So on the AI's turn, the AI is going to do something specific based on whatever guild color is chosen. But first, if the AI is not the first player, which is currently the case, coming to the main board, they're going to move forward once on the influence track. And the only thing they care about on the influence track are new council seats into Stone Council, which won't happen until the second one. So they're going to simply move forward 1 there. The next thing is they're going to look in their supply next to their player board of all of the envoys they've collected and look for envoys matching the color of the current guild. Right now is brown. They have no brown meeples. So in the case that they have no brown, or no, sorry, matching envoy meeples, they're going to advance on the popularity track once plus a number of times equal to the year number. So right now it's year 1. So they will be increasing 1 plus 1 or twice on the popularity track, moving up to 2, like that. Then after advancing on the popularity track, they're going to again come back and check their meeple reserve. In this case, they don't have any, but if they had any matching meeples of the color of the guild action that's currently active, they would score 1 point per matching colored meeple. And then finally, after doing all of that, they will take their action, depending on the color that they are in. And they're going to take their action depending on what it shows on their current sort of action wheel, as well as where this crosshair is. But in the case of the brown action, there's not a whole lot they're going to do. They're simply going to take a look at the target color, and they're going to try and take the seal from the supply of the matching target color. And it's worth mentioning here, if they can't take the color that's matching, so in this case brown, and this is true for all other actions, anytime they can't do something, they're simply going to rotate that clockwise. So if they couldn't take brown, they would then take blue. But in this case, they can take brown. So they're simply going to take from the supply the brown seal, placing that there in their supply, and that's the end of their turn. So coming back to the main board at the end of a turn, whoops, this cart should have been in the middle, but that's a good opportunity for me to show you. At the end of every round, means after we've both taken our turns, this cart will always reset to the middle. Any tiles that have been taken will be refilled, and then this will get rotated to the next guild. So right now, the last kind of rule that I need to talk to you about is the first player. Whoever is the active chair at that guild in the Stone Council will be the first player. So because the AI has their counselor there, they will be going first this turn. And again, I have the choice of red, brown, or green if I want to pay for brown or green, but I think we're going to focus on red, but let's go ahead and do the AI again. In this case, because the AI is going first, they're not going to move on the influence track. They're instead going to move on the Queen's ambition track. So they're simply going to move up 1 there. Then checking their envoys, they don't have any red, means 1 plus year 1 is 2 spaces on the envoy track, which means 3, resetting to 0, and then a second one moving to 1. So they will be taking a meeple. So looking at their wheel, the meeple section is pointing to purple, so they're going to try and take a purple envoy, and there is one there. So they will be adding a purple envoy into their personal supply. Now we're still on a red action, so they're looking for red meeples to score. They don't have any, so 0 points again, but now they take their red turn. And on the AI's red turn, they're first looking at their target, which right now is brown. And they're going to focus, obviously, for red on the Adventurers Guild, taking 1 ink and placing it at the brown location here. And by doing that, they're now going to be searching here for any tiles that have a brown seal or brown envoy printed on it. In this case, there are none, which means the ink will stay there on the brown, but coming back to the AI wheel, it's going to rotate to blue. And now it's going to be focused on tiles that have blue. So it's going to be removing this tile with the blue envoy on it from the game, and then at random, replacing that with another tile, which this case is brown and blue envoy for 1 and 3 points. Instead of the blue and green, it just removed. It's worth mentioning that this area in the middle is usually for when I get to this area. I told you these are activated by ink. They're going to activate the guild color matching whichever one I place the ink in over here. So in this case, I can no longer interact with brown or purple in the current year because they've placed there. So coming back to my board, I didn't reset brown, but I'm doing that right now. I currently have 1 action point reputation level in red. So I am going to use my resource to slide that to 3, which means I now have 3 action points, sliding that back down. Coming back to the board, I don't have any decisions to make unless I choose not to use the points in red. And right now I've got a lot of ink. But it's also worth noting that this number down here at the bottom of every space is where my meeple is going to reset to, what this guy is going to reset to at the end of the round. So if I make it to this 3rd spot, you'll see at the end of the year, sorry, not end of the round, I will reset back to position 1. Which means that I will instantly get another ink for doing so as I get there. So before I take my turn, I've already got a lot of ink. I'm going to activate on my board this 1 popularity per seal. I only have blue right now, but that's fine. I'm going to move up 1 on the track. And the reason I'm doing that is now that I have 3 points to spend here, I go 1, getting an ink, 2, 3, removing an ink, and then either gaining or removing. So I'm actually going to come back to my board and remove 2 ink, and then I'm gaining the 1 ink from that 1st spot. And the reason I did that is because now I can reactivate both of those moving forward when I have the opportunity to do so. So that's the end of my turn. We move to the next round, this time the Merchants Guild, but again, still have the opportunity for red or gray if I want to. Right now, nothing's leveled up, so even if I trigger something different, it's basically using a resource to get a level 1 action in that color, rather than using that resource to get a level 3 action of the actual color as it's being used. But sorry, I forgot to pass the first player token. I did mention it was his, but I never passed it. So he is first player still until one of my council members takes it back. So the AI is going first with a green action. They are going first means they move up on the Queen's Ambition track again, which now triggers them placing a feat tile. So coming back to their board, they need to select the feat tile, and they're going to do so using this directional thing. So it's at the top right now. They take this top one. And then coming back to the board again, their directional is still facing up, which means they're going to be placing in one of these 2 because those are the top most available spaces. Going back to their board, it now moves to the right, so they're going to be placing in the rightmost space. So back here in the rightmost space like that. And then they need to place out one of their challenge tokens on there, either here or here are the 2 completed options. And again, remember their thing is pointing to the right, which is the top of our screen here. So they're going to place their highest challenge token, which is the 4 right there on that intersection. So that's 4 points for them right away, and it means at the end of the game, I'll score 4 points if I get 2 red seals, at least 2 red seals, and 4 of those bonus caps on my tracks, as well as I'll score 3 points if I have 3 blue envoys and those same 2 red seals. So I need to focus on red seals, blue envoys, and getting more bonus stuff for me. Then they take their actual turn, but before that they're checking envoys. So we're looking at green, they don't have any. So 1 + 1 is 2. 1, 2, they finish with 3, go back to 0, and they're trying now looking at their board to take a brown, which is this orange colored one. Again, prototype copy. The colors will be changing a bit, but that means over here they have 1 brown meeple. But again, the action is green, so they're trying to score on green. They don't have any green, so that's that. Then they take their actual action, which is green. And in the case of this, they're simply going to look at their target, which is blue in this case. So all they're going to do is move the merchant's cart to the blue area, and that is their turn. So for me, I currently have 1 point in green. I want more than that. I'm going to use my resource to push this to a 3, getting me 3 actions. I should have reset that before, but now we're back to 3 anyway. And that means I get 3 points. Remembering, 1 point lets me reset a resource of a specific color. 2 points lets me flip a book, and 3 points gets me a new resource. So I could get a new resource, but what I really want to do right now is flip that gray book. So I'm going to move the merchant's cart to gray, flipping gray, which is going to increase my rank of gray 1 higher, like that. So now gray is always starting at 3. Then because of where I am, I can only move to blue or brown, and I can see that blue is still used, so I'm flipping blue by moving that cart to blue. So I use 2 to flip gray and 1 to flip that resource back, and that is the end of my turn. End of the round, cart comes back to the middle. Next is gray. AI still going first, means they're moving up again on the Queen's Ambition track. I need to get some chairs out soon. Them going first, they have no gray meeples. Again, 1, 2 on popularity. Then the gray is going to be them building a foundation depending on which turn it is. In the first round, they're going to be placing out one of these 2x1 spaces, and they're going to try and fill as many spaces as possible in the color that they're targeting right now, which in this case is blue. So they're trying to fill in as many spaces here as possible. The problem is, if I place like this, that's not going to work because this space is a 2 space and needs to be filled in. So all of these are basically singular spaces in the column of blue. So they're going to use their directional measuring thing or their directional tracker. So looking at this, they're on the right side, which doesn't help me because all of the blue is the same column. So they're going down. So they're going to place this in the lowest position, filling in as much blue as possible. But that means either here or here. Because again, it can't place this way because that's a double slot. So to decide here or here, I'm going to move to the next location in their directional, which is left. So they will fill in that. And they don't trigger anything. They're simply filling in the spaces, so I can't do anything with it later. Then they're done, so we do get one more 2x1 in a supply. They're only limited to our own supply, not to the total supply in any given round. So I'm going to first use an ink to flip my green and gray back again, and then use it to push my gray up to 5. So I've got 5 action points to spend. So I could place a triple for 4 and then do a house for 1, or I could place this 3 and either then place this 1 or do a house for 2 points. And right now I'm already losing Queen's Ambition. I'm not sure I'm going to get to a feat tile this round, so I think I want to focus on this stuff as well as filling in as much stuff here as possible. So I think I'm going to take that for 4. My actions should be up at 5. Sliding that down to 1 and placing that out somewhere. Again, I need to focus on blue envoy, red seals, and bonus caps. There's lots of option here for bonus to happen. Purple's coming next, so I might focus, I think I'm going to do that. If I place there, that gets me a bonus on purple, that gets me a flipped book on purple, and if I place a house, it's going to let me push up purple. So using my last action, I will take my first house, placing it there. Let me lay it down so you can see it. So I'm going to trigger that. So I get to add a bonus to purple, flip a book of purple, and increase my reputation at purple. So coming back to my board, this goes up to 3. This book flips over like that. And I get to put something up here. And the things I have are Queen's Ambition, Navigation, Council Track, lose an ink, get to popularity, gain an ink. Now already I know that I'm focused on envoy, so popularity is important. Council track is always important because that gets me Queen's Ambition and new council seats and also popularity occasionally. But I don't know. I think I'm going to take the popularity because I want to start getting some envoys because they do things for me. So I'm going to put that in there. And that's the end of my turn for gray. Then rotating to the next round, we are looking at purple. In this case, I have the counselor there, so I get to be the first player. So I'm going to take my purple moose back to me. I'm the first player again. And looking at my board, we're in good shape here. First things first, I do trigger the bonus for 2. So I move up 1, 2 on the envoy track, resetting to 0 and taking an envoy. And I know that I need 3 blue, and there's only 1 blue, so I don't want him to have it. So I'm taking blue, and I will place that there on my board. Then, I'm gonna use my purple resource to drive that up one more time. So I get 5 plus 1 for this book. So I'm at 6 action points, which is great, because I can get a whole lot of stuff done right now. And let's see what we want to do. I need to get some stuff. I need red things. I can only take tradition tiles that are adjacent to one of the translators. So right now these 4 corners are useless to me. I'd like to focus on red because I know red is scoring. So again, the cost of placing out those things is whatever the cost is on my player board where I'm placing those things down. So I am going to spend 2, and you'll see why I say 2 in just a minute, to take this red one that lets me use Envoy to place caps on things. And I'm going to come back to my player board and place it here, and this is why it's costing me 2. And by doing that, this goes down by 2 to 4, but also I move up 1 on the popularity track. So coming up here to a 1. I still have 4 to spend, which is great, because, yeah, why not? I'm going to take the other red one. Now I do have 2 already, placing it in my first space, which is the ink track, or sorry, the space that gives me 1 ink. So I will take 1 more ink, like that. And that pushes me down now to 2. So I still have 2 left. I can't place any more of these because those are 3s and 4s to place out. So I can move my translators twice, triggering whatever they land on. And one of what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to lose an ink. So removing that ink that I had on my board. And then I could go for popularity, but I'm going to show you in a minute why I'm not gonna. I think I want to start pushing up this navigation track. I'm not going to use it a lot, but I'm going to use it enough that I want some points there. So I'm going to push him back to the middle and push that up 1 more. Then finally coming back to my player board, because I do have some free actions available to me. First one is spend an ink here. Again, 1 popularity per different seal. Now I have blue and red, so that's 2. So I go up 1, 2 on popularity, resetting to 0, and I get to take another Envoy, either red or purple. And I'm gonna take red because, ooh, yeah, and I'm gonna use red right away. Watch this. I'm gonna take red because, first, if I place red there, I've got 2 different envoys in the same stack, means I get 1 push on the Queen's Ambition track, which is what I'm doing right now. Then, I'm gonna use my free action to place envoys, and I'm gonna place blue here, getting a bonus for blue, which I want to push up the council track, or the influence track. And then anytime I place an envoy from a column that contains a second envoy, I must place the second envoy. So I'm going to then place that second envoy here, which is going to get me a red action worth 2 points. And let me show you why I want to do that. Because coming back over here, that does 2 things for me. Number 1, it's going to let me take one of these endgame scoring things and allow me to move up on the Queen's Ambition track again. But also, you'll see here that this space, if I make it here, resets to 2. So then I'll start further into the dungeon on the next turn. So here I need to decide, I can either choose one of these that I like, or I can go here, take 3 from the bag at random, and keep 1 of those. Right now I have red and blue envoy meeples, and he has brown and purple. So clearly I don't want purple. Ah, this is great. I already have 2 red seals. He has no red seals at the point. So I'm going there, taking that red one, and then going there to push up on Queen's Ambition, which does mean first coming to my board to slot that in for endgame. Pushing up on Queen's Ambition means now I need to focus on these guys. And looking at what I've got right now, I've got red and blue, there's nothing for red envoys. I've got red and blue seals, there's nothing for red and blue there. But I do already have 2 traditions, and my purple is doing stuff. So I'm going to take this one that's scoring me points based on having 5 tradition tiles, and I'm going to place that out so that, am I more likely to have blue or more likely to have caps? I'm more likely to have caps because I'm already halfway there. So I'm going to place that there, placing my 4 there, which gets me 4 points. So we're tied at 4, and that's the end of my turn. So AI is taking their turn. They didn't go first, so they're pushing up one more on the influence track, which is getting them a second counselor. So coming back to their board, here as counselor is marked at purple. So they're going to take a counselor and place it at purple. And this is giving me a good opportunity to show you one more interesting thing about the game. Anytime you place a counselor where there's already a counselor, this first one will get bumped in, scoring 1 point. So I get 1 point, but now he takes control of that, which means he'll be the first player when that gets pointed to next time. Not right now because it's the end of the round, but next time it points there, they will take that. Then we are looking at purple. They have 1 purple. Anytime the AI has 1 envoy meeple matching the active guild, they will simply move up a number of spaces equal to the year, which right now is 1. So they're going to move up to 3, unfortunately taking an envoy and resetting. Looking at their board, they want brown. There aren't any. Blue, there aren't any. So finally, rotating to red, they take that red meeple like that. And now we are down 1 to only 1 in the boat. So the population sort of threshold, popularity threshold is going to move up to 4, and I'm going to refill 5 more envoys back into the boat for a total of 6 envoys. Also, I just realized I never reset from my own turn because now the AI will take their turn in just a second. That gets refilled. And then both of these guys over here also get refilled. And that's almost time for the AI to take their turn, except now, after taking that envoy, they need to check their envoys. They do have 1 purple envoy, so they will score 1 point for that. Now, in purple, what the envoys are going to do is look first for their target color in seals in the traditions here, and they're going to try and take a tradition matching that seal. And then they'll rotate and take a tradition matching the next color seal. And then finally they'll rotate again and move all of the translators that are adjacent to the target color seals 1 space each. So let's go ahead and do that. First they're pointed at gray, looking to the left. So leftmost gray is that one, they will take that. Rotating their wheel, they're looking for green. There is only 1 green, so they will take that. Rotating again, now they're looking at purple. So looking for translators adjacent to purple. There is a purple here, but nothing is adjacent to it. So rotating again to find one that works. Brown does work. All 4 of them are adjacent to brown. Right now the direction says left. So these 2 will move left. And then the direction is going to be readjusted to up. And these 2, will move up and up like that. Refilling in all of the spaces that got emptied. That's the end of that turn. Rotating to our next round is blue, and I am still going first. First off, I do have a trigger at blue, which pushes me forward 1 on the influence track, which is a Queen's Ambition trigger, so I do move forward 1. Now he's at the bottom of the stack, means he's still forward in order here, and you'll see why in just a minute that's going to matter. Although I may push up if I want to. Then, blue right now is at 1. I will absolutely use my resource to push that up to 3. And then blue is going to be focused on the navigation track. So with 3, I could build 1 bridge and a tower, or 2 bridges, and that's it. And right now, do I care about being first in Queen's Ambition order? Queen's Ambition order is going to decide who gets to choose which color we're looking at the final round of the year. But looking at their selection, number 7 on their board right here, assuming that nothing changes this round, and I don't know that it will. Actually, it will, because it's going to be trying to place something in brown and it's not going to do it. So it looks like it's probably choosing green this time, which I'm not completely unhappy with. So let's say I'm not doing that. So let's focus then on not Queen's Ambition, but potentially on placing things out. Right now I have 1 red envoy, 1 blue envoy. So that's potentially a thing that scores. That's potentially a thing that scores. I've placed 1 house, so that could potentially score something. I do have 2 red seals, and I do have 1 blue seal currently that could also score things. But right now, I think I'm actually going to focus on pushing things. I'm going to build 2 bridges. First bridge costs 1. The second bridge costs 2, so that's a total of 3 action points, which is what I have. So I'm going to place one bridge here because it is adjacent to that location. That gets me 2 influence track. The first one lets me place a council. The second one moves my popularity up 1. I'm going to stop there for a second, placing my first counselor wherever I want to, and I'm going to place it here because that means if I put it here, he gets a point. If I put it here, he'll get 1 turn where he is the leader, but then I'll immediately take it back the next time. This one bothers me, but we'll figure it out later. Then the second bridge I want to place out is, I could refresh something. I could get a translation movement. In fact, I could go right up on 2 more times on this track right now, which actually is not a bad idea. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm coming over here, placing this bridge adjacent to that one. Means I'm not really working towards a tower at the moment, but that's okay. Because that pushes me up 2 more times on influence, which gets me a Queen's Ambition and another counselor. So Queen's Ambition goes up 1 more. And another council. Which is great because those council spots also let me push things up tracks when I get some envoys out. And I think I'm going to stick it here because then again I can snipe it back from him, and I don't care if he moves up. I do. If he moves up twice, he places out more feats, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I'll give him the point, and I'm taking that back, which means now I own this forever because there's nowhere to be bumped to, but he does go up 1 point for that. And that is my turn. Yes. Okay, then his turn. He's not in first place, so he's going to move up this track, getting just nothing. Then he's checking for blue. He has no blue envoy, so he's going up 1 + 1 is 2. 1, 2 like that. And then he still has no blue envoy, so no points. He's taking his blue action. And the way the blue action is going to work is, looking at his board, he's going to place out a tower, first prioritizing that symbol, which is council seats. There aren't any out on the map. Then the colored meeple, then the colored seal. There are no brown meeples and there are no brown seals showing either, so it's going to rotate. Next is tower, blue meeple, blue seal. Coming back to the board, there is no tower. It means blue meeple is there. He's placing there. And I'll lay it down so it's easy to see on camera, and those just get removed from the game. And then they're going to place out 2 bridges on either side of the tower they just placed. So that gets placed into, and that gets placed into, which is great because next time this is a completed area or completed connection that includes my bridge. So I could build a tower there if I want to. So that's the end of this round, which means that we're moving into the 7th round of the first year, and means that I get to choose, because I am ahead on the Queen's Ambition track, I get to choose what our 7th round is going to be focused on. But whatever I choose is then going to be flipped over and will not be able to be chosen again, or be able to be chosen again at the end of a future year. But I am going to focus on gray because I'm boosted on gray and I can get some stuff done in gray that makes me happy. So that's going to flip over. So I know that that's been reactivated and can't again later on. And I'm still going first because nothing is changing there. So looking at gray, I don't trigger any bonus. I will spend ink to refresh my gray and then use it to push that to 5. So again, we're starting at 5. And I'm sorry I'm bad about playing with these things and refreshing these things. I'll do my best moving forward. This should have been replaced. So again, same situation we found ourselves in before. I can get a 4 and a 1, a 3 and a 2, or a 3 and a 2. And I need more caps if possible. And I kind of want to focus on gray right now. Although council track 1, 2, that doesn't get me enough. Yeah, I want to focus on gray. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to place that here, getting a book flip and a cap for gray. Like that. So over here I get a cap for gray, which I don't care too much which one it is. Navigation potentially is good moving forward, but not really. You know what, though? It is hard to come by. I'm going to put that there. And I get to flip the gray book over. So we're at a +1 again for next time. And that cost me 4. So I am going to spend 1 to place out another house because now I've got lots of stuff. I need to start getting envoys badly though. And I can place on any of those, which is either brown or gray. And this one already has 3 spaces filled in. So I'm going to place there and trigger that, pushing up my gray to 5 for next time, which would be cool. If I could drive it up to 8 potentially. That's the end of my turn. AI takes their turn. They are not first place. They push forward on influence track. They have no gray meeples. So they're moving up 1 plus 1, which is 3, then 4, resetting. They want brown. There is 1 brown, so they will take that. Placing that there. Scoring on gray. They still don't have any, so no points. Their turn, they're focused on blue. This is still the first year, so they're still placing out a 2-piece like that, prioritizing blue, aiming up top. So they're going to be placing this right here like that, which is sad because this would have been great for me filling in that row, but that's okay. Then that's the end of this year. So what's going to happen is whoever is further back on the guild track in this case is going to be swapping 2 of the guilds in the Stone Council for the following year. And to do that for the AI, you're simply going to look at their board and you'll see this double arrow is the one they're focused on, the swap. They're swapping green and they're always going to swap that tile with whatever guild is in the location matching the current year number. So right now they're going to switch green with position 1, which is this brown right here, like that. This gets reset back like that. Then the Queen's Ambition track will get set back in the same order. Means I'm at the bottom of the stack here, means I'm still in the front in order. And then finally here in the dungeon, we will also reset back to whatever number it shows there. So I'm going back to 2, which means I get to remove 1 of my inks. And I think I'm going to, what's going to start off? Green is going to start us off. Yeah, I'm going to remove the one on the refresh resource spot. And like that, we move into year 2. So I'm going to speed things up a little bit, hopefully talking about things more than showing things. But green, I'm still first. I don't have any bonus in green. I will use an ink to flip the green, to unflip the green to get me to 3. Means I can do a book and a refresh, or get some more goodies. And right now, flipping a book could be great for purple. And we're moving into red next. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to purple to flip the book, which pushes that up to level 2 or 3 reputation. And then, whoops, that slides me down to 1 point. Using my last one, moving to green, no, blue to flip the blue and red resource back to active like that. Yes. Then AI takes their turn. They're going second, so they'll move forward on influence, which is a new council. Their council goes at purple. It can't, so it's rotating, which means their council goes to brown now, which is both good and bad. They're bumping me to give me a point, but that means they're going to be first player for a while. Then they take their turn at green, which is simply just to move this to red, which they can't do. So they'll spin this and move it to gray. That's the end, so it's coming back to the middle anyway. We rotate to the next one, red. Now they are going first, so they're moving up on the Queen's track. They do have 1 red meeple, means they're going up now year 2, 2 spaces, 1, 2. Scoring 1 point for the red meeple that they have. Taking a red action. Whoops, this should have been cleared at the end of the last turn. Their target is gray, so they're placing out here. Aiming for something that has gray, there isn't one. So rotating again, aiming for something with green, that one's gone. Replacing at random, we've got green and red seals for 1 and 3 points, which could be really nice for me. They've got 1 green, but no red, and I've got 2 red. If I can get a green or 2, that would be good, except there aren't any here. There is 1 here, though. Then, my turn in red, I've got red. I'm gonna use red to push this to 3. 3 is all I'm gonna get this time. So I will push to here to remove an ink from the refresher. Then I think I do like that red and green, potentially. Potentially, yes. Yeah, I'll take the red and green, do my best to score it. So that means I went down here for 2. Then for 3, I go up here and push up once on the Queen's Ambition track. Going further would have been nice, but that's fine. Replacing my tile like that. Rotating to the next turn. AI is still the leader. Means they're moving forward here, which means they will place out their feet, coming back. Topmost means here or here, means rightmost is this one. Means they're placing in the rightmost place that they can place, which is here or here. Rotating the direction goes down means they're placing that here. And there's only one place that they can put a challenge token, so they will place their 3 here. Scoring 3 points, 1, 2, 3. And now activating 2 more, scoring 5 ink, 5 different colored meeples, and 5 meeples and 5 different colored seals. So I need to focus on scoring those as well, moving forward now. Then, brown. They have 2 meeples in brown. When you have more than 1, means 2 or more meeples of a color, they simply move forward that many spaces. So 1, 2 moves forward, they get another meeple. Aiming for gray, they can't. Rotating for green, they can't. Rotating for purple, they take the purple one. Then they are pointing at brown, scoring. Brown is 2 points for them, 1, 2. Then they take their brown turn, which is simply to take a seal. Their seal target is brown, they can't. Blue, they can't. Means they're taking red, which is a little sad for me, but not really, because I'm still winning. My turn for brown, which is a little bit sad, because I don't have anything, so I'm only getting 1 action point. But I'm going to use that to take an ink because I want the ink to be able to reset something later on. Yes, that's the turn going to gray. They're still first, means they move up 1 more here. Then, they don't have any gray meeples, means they're moving up 1 plus 2 is 3. And then, they're taking gray action in the second year. They're going to be placing out that sort of L-shaped piece. And they're going to place it now with a target on red. So they're trying to fill in as many spaces on red here. So that's going to be like that, or like that. They're aimed at bottom most. So they're going to place here and here, which actually works out fairly nicely for me, because it is filling in that row somewhat nicely. And then replacing those tiles like that. My turn. I'm starting at a 5 with gray. I could go up to 8. Do I want to go up to 8? Maybe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't care about flipping brown right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. All right, I'm going to do this. Queen's Ambition is not super important to me currently. Oh, wait a minute. 2 and 3 is 5, 6, 7, 8. That means I can place out a 2, a 1, and place out houses on them. Yeah, let's do that. It's not what I wanted, but it just might work. This is only year 2, so I can still get other stuff if needed. The part I'm worried about is getting caps on things, because I still need 1 more bonus, and there's only 1 left here. But I think I'm okay. All right, so I am going to spend the ink there to flip the gray back again. But before I do that, I get the navigation track up 1. That pushes me to 8. And actually I'm at 9 because I still have my +1. Which means, ooh, that's different too. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay. 3, 7, 8, 9. I don't care about the Queen's Ambition currently. All right, then I'm going to take this and place it here. Hold on a minute. No, here to get a brown cap, 2 influence, and a navigation. So that goes up. I get 2 influence, which means 1, 2 of those, and I get a brown cap, which doesn't matter now because we've already passed brown, but let's do extra ink for brown, and that does get me my 4th of those, which scores that now, and is likely to score that because it's going to fill things in. The problem is I need to push my purple up more and more and more, or do that. Yeah, that's still okay. So I spent 4 to go to 5. I'm spending 1 now to place a house out onto gray or brown. Oh, you know what? But there's no way for me to get that back again. That's okay. I'm gonna place, it's not okay. I'd still rather it though. That goes there. Which pushes gray up to level 5 for next time. And then I'm spending 3 more to place this one in that hole, getting another navigation and 2 influence, I think. Oh, actually, no, forget that. I'm putting it this way, because that lets me take any of the things that are adjacent to the translators and place it in any space on my board for free, which is huge because, yes, I need some things. Red and green, there's no green out. Don't really want more red right now. I want more variation. What's he got? Gray, brown, red, and green. So let me take a blue. No, that's not variation. Yeah, gray, brown, and blue is all I got. Flipping red and blue, flipping green and gray. Points for blue, points for gray, points for brown. Let me take that one. And on my board, I'm going to place it so that it goes here. Yeah, there. I'm looking at purple. I'm worried about purple. Purple's coming up next, and I'm only going to have 3. Which means I'm only going to do one of, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. Because I'm going to go first anyway. Yeah, that means I remove 1 ink and I get an ink. And I use my last one to place out my extra house, which is either gray again or green. Yeah, let's push up green. No, that's stupid. Because if I put it there, I get another point in that column. So do that. Push the gray up to 8. Next time's going to be amazing. We rotate the purple. I forgot to pass the first player again, but I am first player again. Going first on purple means I get 2 popularity, 1 resetting to 1. I need that blue, so I have more blues there. I still need 1 more. But that's okay, that goes there. And I'm going to instantly put it here, here to flip my blue book, like that. Then I take my purple action, which is just 3, but I'm going to do that to flip purple and use it to push me to 5. So now I'm at 5. I should have refilled that last time. Do I want more colors or do I want more of a specific color? I took gray last time. There is a gray thing here potentially. I don't have any green meeples though. I do have houses out. I could be pushing to get more resources, which means green things is not a problem, not a bad idea to focus on. But, what else do I got? Push up brown, flip a matching thing, flip a matching thing. I don't need those right now. Extra actions, purple. I don't have any purple. Yeah, let's do that. I want that one. So I'm going to use 1 point to get navigation. Hold on, I'm starting at 5. I use 1 to get navigation. So that goes up 1. Then I use 3, 1, 2, 3 to take that purple, placing it here, like that, to get 2, yeah, that's fine, to get 2 popularity, 1, 2, and then I'm going to slide him down all the way to the bottom to get 2 more popularity, 1 resetting, then 2. There's only reds left, so I'm taking a red like that. Do I want to use a red double action now? What's next? Blue comes next. Red double action gets me navigation and either ink or another translator. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to put him there to get navigation, pushing me over to the threshold to the next level. And then the second one's just going to get me an ink. Like that. That's my turn. AI is not first, so they're moving up on influence track. Checking purple, they have 2, so they move up 2. 1 to reset and 1 more. Taking red because that's all they can, but that means I need to rotate that so it matches. Like that. Sorry, I need to fill in my hole. Then they are scoring 2 points for their purples, 1, 2. Then we push that up to the next level and refill back in meeples, and we've got a little bit more mix. I need that blue for my 3 blues. I'd love a gray and a green to get me more colors. Let's see what happens. Moving forward, AI takes their purple action. Focusing on gray right now, there's only 1, so they'll take it. So they're at 2 gray seals. Rotating, focused on green. There aren't any. Purple, there's only 1, so they'll take it. So now they're at 1 purple. Sigil or seal. Rotating again, moving everybody next to brown. There are 2 people next to this brown and 1 person next to this brown, starting with down. He can't go down, but he can. Then left, he can't move left. Up, he moves up. Then right, he moves right, and that's the end of AI's turn. This fills in. Come on, green. Still no green, lots of red. Okay. This rotates to blue. I am still first player. Blue means I get 1 space on the council track again, which is another Queen's Ambition, pushing me to place a feat. Red, purple, gray, blue. I've already got 4 colors of seal. And it's likely I'll get another one. So I like that 5 seals. I also have 2, almost 3 of these, but that's not really that important. 6 resources, unlikely. 3 houses I already have. So let's do that. I don't know. 2 gray seals and 3 green is not likely. I don't like any of those. So I am going to take this one. Placing that there. Placing out my 3 there. Scoring 1, 2, 3 points. Then I get a blue action. My blue right now is just 2, which is kind of okay. It's how much I need to place out a tower right now. Whoops, that's available ink. To place out a tower, next is green is coming. Yeah, I'm going to place out a tower for the 2 that I actually get from blue. 1 and 1 is 2 because I don't have a resource and I can't refresh. Yeah, no. Okay, then I am going to place out, I do have 1 bridge in this completed trail, so I'm going to place there, which shows then that I could have red or seats. Right now I have three seats, and we'll have 4 soon. That's better than the red, so I'm going to take that, discarding the red one. And over here on my relic board, I want to clear up space for ink, so I'm actually going to place it in that ink space. So that ink goes away. AI's turn, they're not first, so they move up on influence track. Blue meeples, they don't have any, so 1 + 2 is 3. 1, 2, 3, like that. Still no blue for scoring. They take a blue action, which is focused on seats. There are none brown and brown, again, nothing. Then towers, blue and blue. There's no towers. They've already placed it the first blue, but there's another blue there. So those go away. They place a tower right there. They place 2 bridges out. Right there and right there like that. That's the end of the turn. Then AI is ahead on the Queen's Ambition track. So we're looking at their space here, which is green, which actually works out nicely. They're going to take green for the 7th round, flipping that, which means we are taking green. I'm still going first because they didn't take it from me, which means I could take red or blue if I wanted to, but they're not worth anything. I want to. Yeah, they don't do anything for green, so I'm not worried. I could take, well, first off, I'm going to flip green and use green, so now I have 3. So I can upgrade gray 1 more time, but that's meaningless right now because I'm not scoring anything off of ranks. Gray's already at 8, and I don't know that I'm going to take it more than 1 more time. Then I could upgrade blue, which will happen one more time. 3 on a blue is not a bad thing to have because I'd get more scoring possibility. And red seals, I have 2 of them. I could get more. I really want to push myself here, but I don't have any ability to get anything done right now. I could flip something else, like brown. Brown and purple doesn't work across from each other. Okay. 3 green. I could just take a resource. I think I'm gonna have to. Yeah, let's just do that. I'm just gonna push down, and it seems silly, but I'm actually gonna take another brown and purple. Whoops. That's still flipped. And that's my turn. AI is simply trying to push to blue. They can't. So they're gonna push to red. But before they do that, they have to take their turn. Sorry, they're not first, so they move forward on influence. Then looking at green, they don't have any, means 1, 2, 3 is 1 reset to 3. They're trying to take a blue one, which is sad because I wanted it, but they just took my blue. I hope we can reset the meeples one more time, but we'll see what happens. That means that resets. That's the end of the round. Then, Queen's Ambition. I'm behind, so I can swap. I now have extra brown. I want to swap that with green, I think. I don't know if that was smart, but we'll see what happens. This goes away. He slides back to 2, which means I remove something. I want to remove, whoops, that one? No, because I need meeples. I want to remove that one, like that. These go back, him on the bottom, and we reset. Brown, I'm still going first. Brown gets me an ink. I still have a brown. I'm going to use it to push that up, pushing that to 3. That comes back down, which means I have 3 to spend. So 1 is remove, 2 is add, and I'm going to push back up 1 here instead of getting another ink to get another chair. Putting out a chair at, do I want him to go twice? No, I'm just going to give him 1 point to do that. Yes, then he takes his turn. Brown means he's not in the lead, so he's going to move forward, and he's placing a chair at brown, which is kind of useless right now, unless we reactivate brown at the end, but I don't see that happening. Then we are doing brown, so he's going to try and take a seal. He's looking for red. No. So he's going to take gray, which is fine. Yes. Rotating the red. My turn. 1, 2, 3. That's not going to work. All right. I'm still going first. Red right now is at 1. But I am going to use an ink to refresh my red and use the resource to push me to 3, which slides that to 3. Should have been at 0, but it's 3 again. So I'm moving 1 to take an ink or remove an ink. I'm going to take an ink. Then 2 is taking something either from the board or from somewhere else. I have 2 red meeples. He has 2 red meeples. But if he takes another one, he's taking red in the current situation. I still don't mind it. But no, I think I'm going to draw randomly 3 and hope that I get lucky. The 3 I got are red and purple, which I definitely don't want. Green seals and brown seals, which I also don't want. Or brown seals and red seals. Well, let me do that at least, because then I can hopefully get a brown seal at some point. Good. The other 2 go back into the supply randomly shuffled in. And I get 1 more movement. Sorry, that was 1, 2, and 1 more pushes me here to get another Queen's Ambition spot. Good. I don't think I'm going to do real well at the end of this game, but let's see how we're doing. Then, AI takes their turn. They're not in first, so they push on the influence track. They're aiming for red. They have 2, means they move up 2. 1, 2. But they score 2 points, 16, 17. Then red action, they're aiming for gray. Placing in gray means that one goes away. Placing out a new one. Ooh, red and gray for 1 and 3 would have been nice to have. Better than the red and brown I got. Because I do have gray, although he's winning gray. All right. That's that. Rotating to green, now he's going first. Means he's pushing up on Queen's Ambition. And then looking green, he doesn't have any. We're in the third year, so 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 to reset, 2, 3, 4 gets 3. He's trying to take a red, which he's gonna do. So now I'm losing red, which doesn't matter because I didn't get anything scoring that way. But that does mean green, he still has nothing, no score. Taking a green action, he's aimed at gray, so he's just gonna push to there. And now it's my turn. And I am gonna spend an ink down here to refresh green and use my green to push that to 3. So I'd like to flip and I'd like to book something. What's next? Gray, I don't need anything. Blue or brown, and then purple or red. Purple plus 1's not a bad thing to have. Red I've already passed over. Purple plus 1 means I need to flip blue. No, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flip blue for the 2. Flipping that book, which increases the rank of blue to the next level. And then moving to purple, spending my last 1 to flip a purple. Yeah, that worked out okay. And that resets back to the middle. We turn to the next round. Still him going first is gray. Means he is going to place out 1 more feet. Aiming for the rightmost, which is this bottom one. Placing in the rightmost location is here. And there's only one place for him to put his thing, which is there. Purple seals and blue meeples. I am in serious trouble this game. He scores 2. 1, 2. Yeah, I'm in serious trouble. Okay, then looking at gray meeples, he doesn't have any, so 1 plus 3 is 4. 1, 2, reset, 3, 4. He's taking red again. And then he takes his, well, he's scoring for gray, but he still doesn't have any. He takes his gray action. He's trying to fill in gray as much as possible. In this round, he's placing a 1 and a 2. Trying to fill as much gray as possible. Gray's already full, so he's spinning to green. Trying to fill green as much as possible. Aiming for the rightmost means now bottommost, which is actually, no. Filling green as much as possible means placing a 2 there and a 1 down there, it seems. Yes. Filling back in. It's my turn to take gray. Now, I have 8 points, 9 points in gray. It also pushes up 1 on the navigation track. The problem here is I can only place out these 2. So how I'm doing that is going to be interesting. Flipping a red book, flipping a brown book is no good. Population 3 or popularity of 3 is not a bad thing. Pushing up on purple is definitely not a bad thing. And filling in spaces for me, let's see, I need 2 there, but I can't because of that. So the only places I can fill in are popularity or navigation. Yeah, him placing where he did was sad. Well, I can't place there and there because I can't fill in that else. So I'm going to place for 3 and 2. Hold on. Let me slow down. 2 goes there, getting me 1, 2, 3 popularity. And I can place a house. Oh, I don't have any houses left. So that doesn't matter. Okay, so that's just 2. 1, 2. So in that case, I might as well do 1, 2, 3 to place this, flipping either brown or red. I'm going to flip red because there's a chance I go to red at the last round. So flipping the red book. Then I still have 4 left, so I'm going to spend all 4 to push up here. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me 3 popularity and a Queen's Ambition. So that goes there. And I go up here, 1, back to the beginning, 2, 3, which gets me a green guy on purpose. Then I'm going to use ink to activate. Blue's no good though. Yeah, but I can't reset blue anyway. Use that to activate again, moving up another 3. 1, 2, 3, resets to there. This goes to 6. I take this gray guy. And I am going to place him in the same place as the other one, pushing forward 1 more on the Queen's Ambition track. Placing out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of green and gray, which is kind of cool, but also kind of very not cool. I've used that. Sorry, that should have come back down. Then, I'm not done yet. I want to put a green one here to get that green seal. Because now I've got green, blue, gray, purple, red. That's 5 seals. Yay. I've got blue, red, green, gray. I need one more color, which could be this brown one over there. But I am going to use this gray guy to flip. No, I'm not. Not yet. All right, that's the end of my turn. We turn to purple. Beginning of purple means I move up 2 on popularity. 1, 2. I'm going first. I've got 3. Flipping this makes it 5. 5 purple to spend. I need to do a 3 or a 4 here. 4 is not a bad idea. What do I need? I don't have grays. 2 brown, 2 green, or 2 gray. There's no green or gray out to pick up, which is a problem. Another blue. I don't need it. 2 purple scores here, but I need 3 blue guys, and I'm not going to have them because there aren't any blue guys out. Grr. Well, can push for grays or greens over here. Grays and greens means grays and greens, though, and I can't get them. All right, well, I'm going to use 3. 1, 2, 3 to take something. And I don't really care what at this point. But let's go brown, because I need it for that. So brown goes there. I get to remove an ink, which will be from there. Smart, I don't know. Then I've got 2 left. Yeah, forget it. 1 to get 3 here. 1, 2, 3. 1 more to get 3. 1, 2, 3. Taking another gray. I realized I had to have placed that guy out. So I would have done that anyway. Flipping the gray book. Pushing that up 1 more. Now the gray guy comes there. No, I need orange or brown, because now I have 5 different colors. That's important. That gets refilled. I'm done. They take their turn. They're not first. They move on influence. Then they are aiming for purple. They have 2. So they simply move up 1, 2, scoring 2 points. 1, 2. And then they're aiming to take a purple action, which is going to try and take green. There aren't any. Purple, there aren't any. Brown, there is 2. Aiming for the bottom one is this one. So now I'm not tied for brown anymore. They've got 2. I've only got 1. Rotating is blue. There's lots of blue. Aiming for the lower ones means these 2. Aiming for the left one means that one right there. Like that. Let's put red and gray over there. Actually, gray is that. Then rotating again is red. They've got 3 guys next to red, starting with left. So he goes left. Then up, he goes up. And then right doesn't mean anything. Down, he goes down like that. Filling in the holes. There's a gray. There's another gray. Then we rotate to blue. I'm still going first. Blue gets me a council, means I get my last chair out. And I don't really care so much about anything but points. So I'm going to push that there just so I can get a point. And I take a blue action, which right now is a 3. Just a 3. Means I can place out 1 bridge and 1 tower if I want to. 6 is far away. What's coming next? Maybe red. Can't get any nautical stuff. What do I have? I've got 2 red things. Got no purple things. 1 gray guy. 1 green thing. Yeah, this red is what I'm aiming for. Means placing a bridge here to move a guy. Navigation, I think. Navigation pushes up 1. And then tower for my last 2 places out a tower here, which is either red seals or, what's that? Towers? I only have 2 towers. I have 2 red. That's not going to change either way. So let's keep red seals. Yeah, and ooh, I've got some options here. I'm gonna play the red on popularity. So I go up 1, 2, 3, like that. Then his turn for blue. He's not ahead, so he moves forward 1 there. He has 1 blue, so he's moving 3. 1, 2, reset 1. He's aiming for a blue. He can't get one. Red, he can't get one. Gray, envoy. Scoring blue is 1, so he's at 22. Then he places his tower at caps. No. Green meeples. Yes, right there. And he can only place 1 bridge because the other side is blocked, although I don't know that's true. Hold on just a second. Yeah, bridge space is closest to where they built the tower, so they will place their second bridge on the other side of mine, like that. Yes. Okay, then that's that. We go into the final turn or final round. I am in the lead, so I get to choose, and I'm gonna choose purple. Would be nice. That slides down. Purple gets me a guy, and then 3. Purple doesn't help me anything, except another guy. Maybe? Red. I only have 2 red. Means navigation and a nothing. Yeah, red is the wrong answer. All right, I'm going purple, which means I'm still in the lead. Pointing at purple gets me 2 more popularity, 1 to reset, and 1 more gets me a something. And I might as well place the gray. Right now, I don't care about anything at all, so I'm going to put those both into here, like that, because those will be 2 points at the end of the game. My purple is 3. I don't have any way to boost or do anything else, so I can move 3 translators. So I'm going to move 1 to move up this track 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Move back there again to get my navigation to the top row, and then again move down 1 more time to get 1, 2, resetting. 3 gets me 1 more guy is green. And yeah, I'm just going to reset him back in there as well for 1 more point. And that is the end of my turn and my game. Actually, this should have flipped, but it doesn't matter. AI's turn, they're not in the lead. They push forward 1 more. They don't get their last seed out. Not that it matters. Then they will check for purple, which is 2. Means they move up 1, 2, like that, and they score 2 points. 3, 4, like that. And then they are taking a purple turn. Purple for them means focused on greens. There aren't any. Purples, there aren't any. Browns, there is. They're going to take that brown, which is sad, but they were already in the lead, so that doesn't change anything. Then blue, taking leftmost blue is that one. 2 blues, and then 1 more time moving everybody who's next to red, which is this guy and this guy, moving first left and then up like that. And that is the end of the game, so we simply go into final scoring. Final scoring for me comes from a variety of different places. Final scoring for the AI is simply going to depend on the goals here that I did not score. But for me, starting with houses, looking at the building track, for every completed row or column with a house of mine in it, I score 1 point. So this one gets 1, 2, this one gets 1, and this one gets 1. So that's 4 points extra for me there. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Next, we look at our artifacts coming over here. If I have the most reds, I score 2 points. I do. They have 1, I have 2, so that's 2 points. If I have the most reds and greens, I score 1 or 3. I've got 2 red and 1 green. 2 red beats theirs, 1 green ties theirs. So I do get that. That's 3 more points is 5. Then browns and reds. Brown I have 1, they have 3. I don't have that, but reds I am winning, so that's 1 more. So 3, 4, 5, 6 points coming back to the score track goes up to 20 points. Next, looking at my relic cabinet over here, I'm scoring based on council seats and red seals. I have 2 red seals. And back on the main board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 council seats. And looking at my navigation track, I am scoring 1 point for every 1 thing that I have. So 2 seals and 5 seats is 7 points for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 27. Then I'm going to do things a little bit out of order. The book scores this and then scores my envoys, but the AI is only scoring here, so I want to save that for last. Coming back to my player board, I have 3 different colors here. Scores me 3 points for envoys, 28, 29, and 30 points for me so far. Now is where we get into this, and I'm going to start here and sort of work my way around the loop. First, 3 brown envoys, 2 purple seals. I do not have that. Means the AI gets 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 purple seals and 3 blue meeples. Unfortunately not. AI gets 2. And that's gone. Next, 3 blue and 2 red seals. Unfortunately, a third blue never came out except for the one that he stole from me, so no again. That stinks. 3 more points for them. 1, 2, 3 to 32. Oh, is that double-sided? It is. Okay, 2 red seals and 4 caps. That I did get. I've got 4 caps and 2 red seals there, so I get 4 points for that one. 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. 4 seals and 5 books. That one I also pulled off for 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. 5 books and 5 ink. Unfortunately, I did not. That's 3 for them. Oops, what did I just do there? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I may have screwed up scoring there. 34 and me was 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Then, sorry, 3 ink for them, 1, 2, 3 for that. 3 for 5 ink and 5 that, I don't, so 1, 2, 3 again. Then here, 5 different colored meeples. Brown, gray, green, blue, red, yes. 5 different seals, red, brown, purple, gray, blue, and green, yes. Gets me 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Then 5 seals and 3 houses. I do have that. 1, 2, 3 points for me. Then we've got 6 resources and 3 houses. I don't. He gets 1, 2, 3, and I think I caught the scoring correctly. Don't think there was any mistakes, but I did make a mistake somewhere along the way, and if I didn't fix it right, I will have fixed it right now in the subtitles below. But I think that I just won 44 to 41. Very close game, but wow, that feels good to have accomplished that because this game is rough and I'm getting better. So yay to see a score like that. Now, this is normally where I take a look at the components. Again, this is all prototype. All of the stuff that you see here is either prototype stuff sent to me from the publisher or random things that I've proxied in, so I can't really talk about too much, but again, artwork from Demicho, everything looks really great. The component ideas to me look really good. I like the screen printed meeples and all of the screen printed wooden bits, the different component shapes. It's easy to see what's what at a glance. The tracks, the sort of dual layered tracks with the sliding things work very, very well. Now, it is a little fiddly that I have to remember to do all of the things, and sometimes I forget. And we'll talk a little bit about that in my thoughts on the game itself. This dial for the AI is really cool. I'll talk more about that when I talk about how the AI plays, but I love the system and how it flows physically there. The wooden foundation bits on the main board, really cool. Everything just looks really nice. It is very big board. It is somewhat cluttered board, but everything works. Everything looks a way that it makes it easy to understand what's going on. All of the different locations, if you pay close enough attention, are sort of themed to what they are supposed to be, which is cool. Just visually, everything works for me. I love the way that all of these Final Frontier 5 Realms, well now 6 Realms games look. So big thumbs up for me for how everything looks, at least so far in the prototype. And I'm very excited to see how it gets even prettier and more user-friendly and more visually nice and usable moving forward as well. So that's basically all I want to say about the components here, seeing as this is just prototype quality. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. This one's going to be a bit of a special one for me because I happen to be a very big fan of the sort of Five Realms universe from Final Frontier. If you can't tell by some of the other games that I've got behind me right now, Merchant's Cove is still one of my absolute favorite games of all time, and Bardwood Grove, coming to the channel soon, is looking to be up there as well. So I was very excited when I heard about this game being sort of coming out on crowdfunding coming soon, and even more so because as a fan of these games, I'm not just a fan of the mechanisms in the games, I'm also a fan of the world that they're creating. I love the artwork from Dmicho. I think this is some of his best artwork in any of the games that he does. And I love this sort of quirky, kind of silly, but kind of sort of real fantasy world that they're building here. I've gone so far as to find the sort of short story novellas that they put out with some of the early games. I've played all of the games in the series and tend to be a fan. Most of them, Cavern Tavern didn't completely work for me, but most of them I've really, really enjoyed, and I've loved to see the story evolving. So when I heard this one was sort of expanding the story even more, I was very excited both mechanically and story-wise to take a look at this game. In addition, this also has a Drake Villareal solo mode, which I tend to be a big fan of, so I was very, very excited to be able to get a chance to look at this game. Then I opened up the rulebook and I started reading through, and I mentioned it earlier in my playthrough that some of the components unfortunately got held back by US Customs and didn't make it to my door, so I did proxy some components. But the reason I'm telling you this again is, as I was searching for all the components and looking through the list of components that I needed to have for this game, it suddenly hit me that this game has no cards, this game has no dice. But it's a heavy Euro game. No cards, no dice, heavy Euro game. And my mind said, huh? Where's the game and how is this going to play? And I sat down to play my first game. And let me tell you, I am really, really enjoying this game and just how much this game does with no cards and no dice. And sort of very few real components. Now, what that means here is this is kind of a tracks on tracks on tracks kind of game in which you're leveling up tracks to get things that give you points and different things, to get you things, that get you things, that get you more tracks, that get you more things. And that sounds like a whole lot of mess, but let me go through slowly and explain to you exactly why I enjoy this game as much as I do. Because it's unique. It's something that I've never really seen before. There are a lot of small pieces in here that work out sort of to be similar to other things that I've played before, but on a whole, the core of this experience is that there are 6 different realms, obviously, 6 different guilds realistically in this game, not realms, but there are 6 different guilds that each offer a sort of a unique kind of puzzle to the game. Some of them not so important, some of them very important. And I'll start with the not so important ones. The Brown Guild and the Green Guild. And I'm sorry if I don't remember all the names offhand, so I'm going to refer to them as colors. But the Brown Guild is simply there to get me ink, or to erase ink so that I can activate special powers. And I'll talk about that later because that is important, but it's not sort of one of the main focuses of the game. The Green Guild in a similar kind of manner is the same thing. It's more about upgrading and maintaining than it is about progressing the game. But the Green Guild is about sort of refreshing the resource tiles that I've got, increasing my resources. I can get a second of each type of resource from the Green Guild. And most importantly, for me at least, is that it lets me flip over the book tiles that are at the bottom of each of my different guild tracks. That's giving me a boost +1 to each action point, sort of total for each guild. But more importantly, if I flip it a second time, is sort of permanently upgrading my support from that guild, or the strength or the amount of action I can get from that guild action every time I take it on future turns. So again, brown and green is sort of mostly about just maintaining and improving what I'm doing in the other guilds. So then there are 4 other guilds, blue, red, purple, and gray. And I might as well talk about them in that order, it doesn't really matter, but the blue guild is interesting. This is the one where I'm sort of out exploring the map. And it's really cool, Navigator's Guild, I think. It's really cool here. You're placing out bridges to get sort of stuff. And the sort of get sort of stuff is unlocks in different areas, or, you know, the ability to refresh a resource, or the ability to take a different action somewhere else, and so on. But that's the less important piece of this blue guild. The main important piece of this blue guild is that I'm placing out towers, but in order to place those towers, I need to have sort of made a network of bridges to that tower location. And then when I place the towers, it's going to be sort of creating one of the endgame goal sort of situations for the game, in that I'm choosing these tokens that show me something in the game. It could be something that I'm placing out. It could be the envoy meeples that I'm collecting. It could be the seals, the colored seals that I'm collecting. So it's something that I'm either collecting or placing out into the game. And at the end of the game, I'm scoring points based on however many of those things I've either placed or taken into my player area. But it's not that simple, because there's also a track in that area that the higher up the track I'm getting, the more points I'm getting, or realistically the same number of points I'm getting, but the smaller the set I need in order to score those points. So it's a 3-to-1, then a 2-to-1, and then a 1-to-1 sort of stuff to points ratio as I move up that track. Then moving next into, I don't remember the order that I said it in, red is the Adventurers Guild. This is the one where you're sort of exploring through the dungeon. And this is maybe the simplest of them all, in that you're basically just spending 1 point each to move space by space through this dungeon. And this is interesting because each of these spaces, again, is going to trigger things. Getting ink, getting the ability to act on other things, using ink to activate things or level up different things. But most importantly, again, sort of end game scoring kind of thing, there are certain spots in the dungeon that I'm going to get these tokens that I'm scoring on. That this time is not based on how much stuff I personally have, but how much stuff I have in relation to other people. And these are usually going to be focused on the colors of the envoy meeples and the colors of the different seals that I've collected. And in this case, there are sort of two different scoring types. Either I have the most of one thing and I get 2 points, or I have the most of one or two things and I get 1 or 3 points, depending on how many of those two things I have the majority of. But this adds an extra wrinkle into that scoring, because now it's not just about me getting a lot of stuff, but it's about me preventing other people in the game from getting that same stuff. So this one is a little bit easier to score, because I could potentially just have 1 or 2 things and score all of the points for them, so long as somebody else doesn't have more than I do. And that's pretty interesting. But this one's interesting too, because as you level up red, you're going to be able to go further into this dungeon. But not only that, at the end of every year, you reset back to some point further along in the dungeon, depending on how far you've pushed yourself into the dungeon. Which means there are sort of thresholds throughout the dungeon that you're trying to push yourself over the line, so that when it resets, you reset to further ahead in the dungeon, so that on future years you can go further and further and further into the dungeon, deeper and deeper, getting bigger and cooler stuff as you go in. Next, and again, I don't remember the order I said before, but purple. Purple is this sort of, I don't remember the name of the guild, but sort of academically focused thing where you're collecting tradition tiles and you're using translators, moving them around this board to get different stuff. And the stuff that they're going to give you is majority going to be popularity, which is how you get the envoy meeples, which I'll talk about in just a second. But also will get you ink or removing ink, and will also get you levels or moving up on that navigator track that I talked about before. But more importantly, you're collecting these tradition tiles that get placed onto your player board, which first are going to trigger some kind of one-use ability or activation bonus for placing them in there. But these are going to be really cool because they're adding to that ability to use envoy meeples or ink tokens to place on there to activate special abilities, free actions later on in future turns that give you this continuing sort of cascading ability to do things. Then moving on to the gray, the fourth and final of these sort of bigger guilds in the game. This is a sort of polyomino spatial puzzle piece where you're placing out different shaped foundations for buildings out onto this grid, covering things up, and as you're placing them on, you trigger all of the things that you're covering, and these are going to be pretty cool because they're going to give you bonus abilities for each of the different guilds when you activate that guild. They're going to be giving you extra boosts on your different tracks so that you get more actions on future turns. They're going to be allowing you to move those translators around to activate things over there. They're going to be basically giving you a ton of different things that you can do just by covering these spaces on the board. And then on top of that, you can also spend actions to place houses on top of those placements. And those houses are going to trigger Queen's Ambition track, or again, raising the level of your sort of future action points at a different guild in the future. But most importantly, those placement of houses will also end up being endgame scoring as well, because every completed column or row that you filled in with foundation, you will then score 1 point for each of your houses in those completed columns and or rows. So you could be scoring 2 points per house that you place if it's on the intersection of a completed column and row, which is going to actually be pretty big here because this game, everything's sort of scoring between like 1 and 4 points. There's nothing in here that's going to get you huge amounts of points unless you really, really, really focus on it. And that's where the rest of this game plays in. Because I just told you a bunch of stuff that's sort of scattered all over. This does this, and this does that, and this does this, but this also does that, and this does this, and everything's interconnected. And realistically, where this game shines is focus and combos. Because if you try to do everything in this game, you're never really going to do much of anything at all. But if you're super focused on one thing and not really paying attention to how it connects to other things, you're also not going to get a whole lot of stuff done. Because I haven't sort of mentioned too deeply in this sort of overview thoughts on the game how the ink and the envoys work. But as I'm getting popularity and as I'm bringing envoys back to my player board, those envoys are going to be able to be placed in different locations to sort of increase or boost things on my board. They're going to give me bonus tags that go on to each of the different guilds, so when that guild is triggered, I'm going to get something special every time. They're going to be able to push up the action points so that I get more stuff, which I can also do by spending resources to push those action points up to get the ability to do more stuff at a specific guild action. And then I've got ink that's kind of doing the same thing. Ink triggers special abilities that I may have added to my board from traditions. Ink also helps me drive up popularity to get more of these meeples to place out, the envoy meeples to place out to trigger other things. But ink will also let me refresh my resources so I can spend them again later to get bigger actions later on, to get more stuff done at a specific guild later on, and so on. So the sort of focus and core of this game is how best do I trigger this to trigger this to trigger this to trigger this that plays off of that and scores me points. And how can I focus on all of the different guilds and all of the different things they're scoring by focusing on 2 or 3 things that I'm really, really, really gaining so I can score off the navigators having lots of stuff. So I can score off the red zones having the majority of stuff. And most importantly, which I haven't talked about yet, the last endgame scoring comes from the Queen's Ambition track, these challenges that the Queen is basically setting out for you. But if you're the one who's doing the best on the Queen's Ambition track, you're the one who's assigning the challenges, meaning the endgame scoring goals, that everyone is fighting over at the end of the game. And if you have something at the end of the game based on these challenges that you've set out there, these feats that you've set out there, you're going to score more points. So if the things that I'm trying to gather for those challenge cards or for those feat tokens out on the Queen's Ambition track also happen to be the things that I need to collect for my navigator scoring, also happen to be the things that I need to collect for the tokens that come from the red area majority scoring, if I can make all of these things work together and score multiple times for collecting the same thing, that's great. But I also need to be careful that I'm not focused too heavily on one thing, because maybe that color of meeple doesn't come out of the bag onto the boats, means I can't draft that color of meeple. Maybe there aren't a lot of tiles in the purple area. I didn't mention this, but those tiles that you're drafting from the purple area also have seals that are part of the endgame scoring. But maybe the ones that are coming out don't have the seals that match the things that you're trying to collect. So you really have to be constantly on your feet, thinking tactically and sort of adjusting to meet and match the things that are coming out in the game, so that the stuff that's coming out, then the stuff that you're collecting and or placing matches as many of the different scoring goals as possible. And it sounds like a whole lot, but realistically the game plays out very easily. And the last thing I should mention is the guild that you're using is sort of assigned by the game every round by an arrow that's turning around. Except that you can always spend resources to select one of the adjacent guilds. And this is where the thinking gets even more interesting, because it might be, if I'm focused on a specific set of 2 or 3 guilds, that I might want to activate that guild twice or 3 times even, if possible, as it turns past, and get as much stuff out of that as possible. But then I better hope that I have a lot of ink to keep refreshing that resource, or that I have a second resource of that color so I can do everything twice. So all of this planning about how things interlock and how things connect and what order I do things and where I'm focused and where I'm not focused and how spread out or how completely focused I am in the game really makes for a very interesting puzzle. And it sounds like it could be very overwhelming. And it might be a little bit overwhelming at first, sort of determining what's good and how best to score in the game. But the sort of core flow of the game, you have this guild or these two guilds if you want to spend. This guild does this, spend actions to do that. Then, same thing next turn. This guild, or if you want to, these two guilds for cost. Then this guild does this for these action points. All of the individual steps are very simple, but the way everything connects together really does take some thinking and some planning ahead, but also tactical decisions. And I'm somebody who tends to like tactical decisions over strategy, and I never feel punished in this game for not having a long planned out strategy because, as I mentioned, the tactics here are changing up. Who places out the feats and when they get placed out is going to determine what the end game scoring is, but also how many points each of those things scores. Out on the navigators area, the different places where the towers get placed out are going to determine throughout the game what you're scoring on. So you might have certain things that you set out at the beginning that this is what I want to get done by the end. But then as different things come out, as you collect envoy meeples, as you collect seals, as you place different components out on the board, you start naturally focusing in on the things that you're already doing and doing your best to get those things to score. And if you can't, then you start prioritizing the things that you can do to score the most points midway through the game. So there is a whole lot of shifting and changing of focus based on these more important tactical decisions as you go through the game. And I really appreciate the way that that works. Now, if I'm going to sort of water this down into an easier way for you on video to understand what I'm saying about this game, the easiest thing I can think of is it's almost like one of those sort of abstract roll and write kind of games, of course with theme then added on, and then with heavy Euro added on top of that. So it's like a heavy Euro thematic roll and write or flip and write, but with no dice and no cards. And what I mean by that is, if you think of a game like Gone Shown Clever, and actually Gone Shown Clever is a great comparison here, there are different colored areas, all that score in different ways. But if I place here, it'll trigger a bonus here, which will trigger a bonus here, which will trigger a bonus here, and then give me a special sort of one-use ability for a future round that's going to let me do this combo sort of flowing again. And that's exactly how I feel when I'm playing this game. Yes, it's a heavy Euro, or at least a mid to heavy Euro, but everything is sort of chaining in these simple unrolling or unveiling, snowballing kind of chains of combos that play out as you're playing the game. And every time you can trigger something that does 3 or 4 things in a row based on what you've just done, it always feels really good. And when you set up a combo that gets you something that scores for something but also scores maybe somewhere else at the same time, it feels really good. There's a lot going on in this game. It might take a couple of plays to get into it to really feel like you know what you're doing, but again, it feels good while you're doing it. Each individual step is not that complicated or difficult, but putting it all together feels like a satisfying puzzle with a cool, again, chaining combo resolution kind of thing going on. I am really loving this game. Now, let's talk quickly about the AI, because this is obviously a solo-focused channel. This was a solo playthrough, and my preview is generally solo-focused. The AI in this game, I really enjoy what's going on here. It's really, really cool, this whole wheel system. It could have been a deck of cards. It could have been something that you've seen somewhere else. It could have been a priority list. But designing a new component specifically for the AI is really interesting to me. It's a very clever idea, and it works really well here because the AI has a color focus for everything, or a sort of specific focus for everything. It might be symbol-based rather than color-based. And you can kind of get an idea of what they're going to do based on which guild is activating and what order the guilds are activating and what colors the AI is sort of rotated to at any given time, plus the direction of that little compass rose kind of thing on a side. You can use that to sort of predict what the AI is going to do, except then remembering that anytime you block the AI or anytime the situation arises that the AI can't do something, that wheel rotates. And when that wheel rotates, the AI's priority is changing again. And when the AI's priority is changing, it means that they might be doing something different than you expect them to do. So it feels a lot like a human opponent in that I can sort of understand the patterns that they're working on and the things that they're likely to do, but at any point they could make a decision that I didn't expect them to make, and that's very, very fulfilling in an AI system. Also, the way that the AI interacts with the sort of tactical, ever-changing nature of this game is very interesting to me as well, because it means that, for example, the envoy meeples are coming out on the boat every so often in the game. And the AI is focused on specific colors based on this wheel, but then also they're sort of rushing how many of these envoy meeples they're collecting based on how many they've already collected before. And they're scoring additional points based on this sort of running engine of collecting envoys and judging based on the collected envoys. So it adds an extra level of scoring to the AI that you can kind of see. Oh no, they've got a lot of one color of envoy. If I keep letting them get that, every time that's triggered, they're scoring big points. So I should avoid letting them get those. Or I can see that they're going to take this one and I need that before they get there, so I better hurry up and do that before they get a chance to get over there and get it. Lots of planning, lots of thinking about what the AI is doing in reaction to what I'm doing. And then on top of that, the end game scoring goals. Now the end of game, the AI is not scoring for the navigator stuff. The AI is not scoring for the points from the red dungeon area. But the AI will prevent you from scoring on the red dungeon area if they have more stuff than you do in the categories that you're focused on. And then most importantly, at the end with the Queen's Ambition, the feat or challenge tokens at the end, everything that you don't score, the AI is then going to score. So it really adds this extra layer of push in the solo mode that you need to make sure that you accomplish every goal that you set out to do, or at least as many of them. So when I put out a feat token and I place my challenge token on there and I say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do this game, I better make sure that I'm happy with both sides of that thing so that I can maximize my scoring but also minimize the AI. And these tokens change every game, which means my goal, my focus is changing every game. The startup token at the beginning that tells me which of the books to flip and which seal color I start with is changing every game. So all of this is sort of forcing me to push in different directions, try tweaking different things, try out different combinations of guilds to see how best I can get things done in any given game. I love the variability here. I love all of the different ways the game pushes me in the solo mode. I love how the AI sort of reacts to the game but is also semi-predictable, so I can react to the AI and play smartly against the AI. I can't really say anything about the challenge level of the AI yet because I know they're still tweaking the difficulty right now, but it seems to be pretty back and forth whether I beat the AI or the AI beats me, and the scores are never all that far apart. So far from what I've seen and what the tweaking level has gotten to so far, I'm really enjoying this one solo. Again, I continue to be impressed with just how much is being done here with no dice and no cards, just with some tracks and some tiles and some scoring goals. The way that it all combos together, this sort of chaining of combos, very heavy Euro roll and right, flip and right style of game, which actually is interesting to me because I know the designers of this also worked on Guilds of Merchant Explorers, which is another kind of twist on a roll and right, flip and right, but not quite kind of game, and this is that sort of turned up even further. I'm loving everything I see here. I can't wait to see more of this. I'd love to see more goals or more tweaks on how these things connect into each other. I am very excited about this game. I hope that you are too. Yes, it's heavy, but don't let that heavy scare you away if it looks like something that you're interested in trying out, because there's a whole lot of fun to be had in this box. Again, this is on crowdfunding, coming soon just as I post this video. I will put the link to the campaign down below so you can go and check it out yourself if this seems like something you'd be interested in. As always, I do thank you for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful, and if you did enjoy what you saw, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.